Hi, Scott Orland with CINEMA-Magazine. There is a terrific new film coming your way. It is called Uncle Frank, and I'm here with the namesake himself, Paul Bettany. Paul, let's start out with something a little fun. I'm always admirable, or I admire actors because they have these skill sets. Sometimes they have to be a doctor, sometimes they have to be a lawyer, and we have to believe them. So, how believable are you as a teacher?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I left school at 16, so I, yeah, I don't know. That's for somebody else to comment on, really.
But if you had to teach, what would be the class you would teach?
Oh my goodness, I don't think I'm equipped to teach anything except I don't even think I'm equipped to teach acting, really. I understand so little about my own process, which changes on, with whatever the job seems to require. Um, um, maybe I could teach guitar at a sort of infant level. I'm not sure.
We'll start putting up flyers. Paul Bettany teaching guitar lessons.
Yes, I'll put them all over the lampposts of Brooklyn.
We'd love to think that we live in an enlightened age. And we look back on movies like this that are 40, 50, 60 years ago, and we thought, God, how could people feel like this? And yet, for somebody coming out, as with your character, even at this time period, today it's still a difficult transition. What type of comment is a movie making about how this transition needs to happen, how secure you need to be in yourself to be able to say these words?
Wow, I think that's a really great question, and I think that you are 100% correct that despite this movie having been set in the 1970s, there are still parts of the world and parts of this country where I think it is very difficult for a child to, for a person, for an adult even, to feel safe enough and secure enough to be able to reveal that to close family members, even, which is terrible. I mean, I think about my own father, a very different period of time. But my father, who was a gay man in the closet until he was 63 and then ended up back in the closet because of his Catholicism and his sense of shame surrounding his sexuality, he managed to get himself into the one area of society that in 1950s England, where it was acceptable, in the theatre. My dad was a dancer and then an actor, and yet he's even surrounded by a community that was very accepting of people's different sexual proclivities. He really clearly struggled and was unable to do that. And I think it is still very hard for people. I think the damage that one can do personally to oneself, not living the life that you were meant to live. I know I can speak from my own experience of having a father, that it led to all sorts of difficulties for he and I, and for obviously his wife, my mother, and for his daughter, my sister, etc., etc., etc. The not getting right with yourself and who you are, and this is the stuff of becoming a grown-up, right? I mean, to have that moment robbed of you, where you get right with yourself about who you are, is is tragic. Really tragic. And I love that this is a story where the opposite is true. And because I think, you know, as Alan says, I think really eloquently, you know, he wanted to write a story where the love interest in the story get to live happily ever after, and that hardly ever happens in stories about gay men.
You said something before, and I kind of want to follow up on it, because there's something about our teenage years where we're finding our footing. And some people stay local. I mean, that they just kind of segue into their aspect of life. Other people need to get away. And as we see with Frank, he needed to get away, not only because of his sexuality, but to kind of get comfortable in his own skin. So if we take you back, like you said, you were 16, you left school. Did you stay close to home, or did you need to get away to find that footing yourself?
I 100% got away. I 100% reinvented myself. My experience of school was being bullied because my school thought I was gay. And I was bullied for being gay, mainly because the community that my father grew up in, which was a theatrical community, my godfather was gay, our friends were gay. I suddenly moved to the suburbs from inner city London, very, you know, cosmopolitan, multicultural, to a very conservative white area outside of London, and I had no idea. Well, I mean, I remember getting beaten up for not being racist. I remember being beaten up for because the assumption was that because I had no problem with people's homosexuality, that clearly I must be gay, and it was brutal. I mean, I remember after being beaten and urinated on in the showers for it, and the moment I could leave the suburbs and get to London, I did, and my life changed immediately for the better. I mean, I was not made to be in that community. I had to be back in a city. And I do. I often think about that, about kids coming out at young ages all over this country and all over other countries. Just come to the city. It's going to be fine. Everybody just hold on and come to the city. Nobody gives a shit.
Well, yeah. I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to presume you're a really good father. But I want to know, what does it take to be a good uncle?
Oh my gosh,
Uncle Frank's a pretty good uncle. I mean, he's
Uncle
so
Frank's
attentive
a really
to
good uncle. I was thinking about this. I was just talking with a friend, and it doesn't take much with children. I remember a couple of lifelines thrown out to me by my auntie, and I really remember I didn't need to take her up on it very often. But the fact that I knew that there was somebody out there that had my back and would be there for me if I needed them was enough support and enough to keep me going. And somebody who I really felt saw me and knew me and loved me, warts and all. And I was thinking, actually, the children are really resilient, and they just need to know that. So I think that's what being a good uncle, when you're not the parent, but you can see when stuff is going on and say, you need to talk. You can always pick up the phone. I will come and get you. If you're in trouble, I will come and get you. And like I say, I took her up on it. I didn't take her up on it very often, maybe 10 times in my childhood, but they were important moments.
And a last question for you, kind of continuing on that theme just a little bit. Part of the bonding that you and your niece have is this road trip.
Yes.
Nothing like a road trip to get to know somebody a little bit better. So I was wondering, when you look back on your life, has there been a unique road trip where you actually bonded in a different way with somebody through conversation and experience?
Yes, but it's an incredibly boring answer, because the road trips that I have been on have mostly been with my wife. And also, because I grew up in the UK. It's very small. I mean, you can drive from one end to the other in a day. Which is interesting. I would never. We have a place up in Vermont. It's about 4 hours away, and we drive up there regularly. A lot of weekends out of the year, we drive up to Vermont, and I don't think twice about a 4-hour drive. Nobody would drive for 4 hours in England. It's like the other side of the world, So road trips aren't such a big thing, and so my experience of America has been really mostly with my wife. But they are, I love them. We were in New Mexico. We did a trip out to Zion, and we also had this amazing road trip by mistake in Italy. But we had children with us and all of that. But you do. I had a great road trip with my 2 sons in Iceland, where we went the whole way around Iceland in the camper van. And what is lovely about it is you have a really simple plan every day, which is A to B, right? And and apart from that, and apart from sort of plotting it all out on the map and where you're going to eat, so there's structure to your day. It's all chat and singing songs loudly on the radio.
Okay, just really quick, because I'll let you go after that. What would be your soundtrack? If you're, like you said, you have to have songs on the radio. What artists do you need to kind of fuel you during a road trip?
You know what? I got to say that I think for me, the best road trip album, I mean, it's very landscape based. So this is my North America. This is my North America road trip music, would be U2's Joshua Tree.
I think that's acceptable.
Thank you very much.
Paul Bettany, thank you. The movie is called Uncle Frank. It is absolutely terrific. And this is Scott Orland. Till next time.
You were the best. Thank you very much.